I'm Nora. I founded Collabora, which is a DIY community for people who love to make things. And today I'm teaching you how to make a very simple dress. Before you cut your pattern, you should always measure yourself. Your size does not necessarily correspond to the ones that are written on the pattern. For this dress, we only need to measure the waist, the hip, and the distance between the two. I'm showing you an already cut out pattern piece so you understand the math that we have to do after we measured ourselves. This is the quarter of your body basically, and this is the piece of fabric it represents, which means the measurements we did around the waist and the hip we have to divide by 4. Now mark 1/4 of your waist size on the pattern and make sure the pattern is wide enough. Then mark the distance from your waist to your hip and mark it on the pattern. Now mark 1/4 of your hip size on the front pattern piece. In my case, my hip is wider than the pattern. Now connect the hip marks and the waist marks. And then you can use a French curve to make a nice new rounded pattern line. Repeat the same with the back pattern. Mark the distance from your waist to your hip. Then mark 1/4 of your hip size on the back pattern. Then connect the waist and the hip marks. Cut out both pieces. Here you can see that I made the pattern wider to allow space for my hips. I like to place my fabric on a blanket to make it less slippery. When you fold your fabric, make sure you have the right side, which is the nice side, facing inside. Place the pattern pieces with the center front on the fold, so after you cut it, it unfolds into an entire piece. Now it's pinning time. Put pins into different directions to stop your fabric from slipping. Then trace along the pattern to mark the seams. After that, add seam allowance. For this dress, we use 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters. There are marks that help you align the front and the back. Make sure to chalk them as well. Turn over your fabric and ensure everything is pinned correctly. And finally, you can cut your fabric with very sharp scissors. Make a very small cut to remember the mark, but don't cut too deep. Avoid hitting the seam. Now remove all the pins. Place the 2 pieces on top of each other, the right sides to the inside. Pin the shoulders, start in the middle, which helps you aligning the pieces better. Test your sewing machine tension and stitches with fabric scraps. Sew your shoulder seams. You can follow the seam or simply align the fabric edge to the lines on the sewing machine. After you finish the shoulder seams, pin the 2 sides, making sure the marks are aligned. Pin the rest of the side seams. Then start sewing the side seams. Reinforce by going backwards once. And always remember to remove the pins. I'm using fabric that doesn't fray. However, if your fabric frays, just make sure to fold the seams twice and sew along them. Then press all your seams. If your fabric frays, you want to use a zigzag stitch or a serger to stop the fabric from fraying. Alright, that is how you make a simple 4-hour dress, and now you can make one for yourself.